All right, so after some thought, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, but I decided to just do one example of each of the topics that will be on your test Wednesday and Thursday. So here we go. The first one is evaluating linear functions. All right, so this problem says, given g of x equals negative 5x plus 1, find g of negative 3. All right, so you can do this problem a few ways. You can put this part into Desmos, all right, and then you can put this underneath, so we'll do it that way. So I'll first start out by putting g of x equals negative 5x plus 1 into Desmos. So let's do that. So g of x equals, I forgot it just that quick. Negative 5x plus 1. And then g of negative 3, I'm going to put that in the next line. And then if you notice, it gives us the answer. So the answer here would be 16. All right, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can put, so you see how I got the g of x in? If you hit this gear, hit table, and then it says find g of negative 3, that's when x is negative 3 because it's inside of the parentheses. X is inside, negative 3 is inside the parentheses, so that means negative 3 is x. So if I change this to negative 3, it also gives me the same answer, 16. All right, so if I put 16 in, we'll see that that is correct. All right, so the next problem I'm going to go over is evaluating functions from a graph. All right, so if you look, it says find the value of negative 7. Once again, x is always in the parentheses, negative 7 is in the parentheses, so that means I need to find, I know x is negative 7, so I need to find y. So that's when I go to my graph. Because it's negative 7, I need to go to the left to 7. So I'm at negative 7. If you notice, I'm on the grid and not the graph. In order to get to the graph, which is this line here, I need to go down. So if I go down, I'm here, and that's when the y is negative 5. So for problems like these, you need to find, if it gives you x, find the x, then go up or down till you hit the graph. In this case, I'm going down. Look at the corresponding y, and that's negative 5. And it just tells me to put in negative 5. So if I submit it, that's correct. All right. Remember, I am going fast. You can stop and start and rewind fast forward as needed. All right. These two are not on the test. Okay, so I'm not going to go over those. The next one I'll go over is table to linear equation. All right. This says find the equation of the linear function represented by the table below. All right. So in order to do this one, I am going to put this over here so I can work it out. All right. So it says write the equation. Okay. So you need to know a couple of things. If we're writing the equation for this table, I need to remember what equation am I writing it in? And I'm writing it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I'm going to put this table into Desmos graphing, because I can find the value of the slope and I can find the value of the y-intercept by putting it into Desmos. So I'm going to go over and put this. It may be helpful if you split your screen to do this. You don't have to, but you can. All right, so I want to do 1, 3, 3, 7, 5, 11, 7, 15. All right, so if I hit the plus sign, hit table, 1, 3, 3, 7, 5, 11, and then 7 and 15. All right, then from here, I want to go to the next line and hit Y1. I want to hit tilde, mx1, and then plus b. All right, when I do that, it gives me m is 2 and b is 1. So m is 2, b is 1. So all I'm going to do is replace m with 2, B with 1, and then that's it. So I'm going to say y equals, instead of putting M, I'm going to put 2, put the X, and instead of putting B, I'm going to put plus 1. So in the delta math, I'm going to put y equals 2x plus 1. Hit submit, and there we go. All right. Next thing, I'm skipping this. All right, let's go to writing the equations of lines. All right, so writing the equations of the lines. All right, so if you notice, in order to write the equation from this graph, okay, I need to know a couple of things. So I'm going to snip this really quick. I probably should have already did this, but it's okay. Remember, you can fast forward as needed. All right, so I'm going to snip, and then I'm going to paste. All right, same thing. If I need to write the equation for this line, I need to first identify 2 points, at least 2. You can have more than 2, but we need at least 2. All right, so I'm gonna do this one, which is 0, 7. And then I'm gonna do this one, which is 4 and 10. Okay, I just need at least 2 points. Okay, once I have my 2 points, I'm going to put these 2 points into a table. And remember, just like we did this one, in order to write the equation, I need to put it in this form, which means I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. So we're going to put in the table, then use the y sub 1 tilde mx1 plus b to find the slope and the y-intercept, and then write it. All right, so I'm going back to the table. Hit the plus sign, hit table, and then I want to put in these 2 points. Y'all, you can put more than 2 points, but you need at least 2. If you got 2, it'll work. All right, so I'm going to put 0, 7, and then 4 and 10. Okay, and then now I'm going to do y1 tilde mx1 plus b. Okay, that gives me the slope of 0.75. All right, and then it gives me the y-intercept of 7. Was it 7? All right, so it gave me the slope of 0.75, and it gave me the y-intercept of 7. Okay, here's the thing that I kind of forgot. I don't know if Delta Math accepts decimals or not. So this is what we're going to do, okay? Because 0.75 is a decimal, I'm going to put it in the next line. I'm going to put 0.75, and I'm going to hit fraction, okay? Because Delta Math may or may not take the decimals. It may want a fraction. So you can write it 2 ways. So we might get this one wrong, but it's okay. That means they want the other way. So we can write it using the decimal, 0.75x plus 7. Or we can use it as a fraction and do 3/4 x plus 7. Okay, now let's see which one it wants. So I'm gonna put the decimal in first. If the decimal doesn't work, then clearly we know it should have been written as a fraction. And Delta Math is very sensitive. On your test, you can write either one. It doesn't matter, the fraction or the decimal. But we know Delta Math likes it a certain way, so let's see. Y equals, I'm gonna put 0.75x. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they're going to want the fraction because they didn't do it the way we did it. They did it to where they want you to count rise over run. So they probably gonna count this one wrong, but let's see. All right, let's just see anyway. It says simplified. So yeah, they probably want the yeah, matter of fact, let's just go ahead and put it as a fraction since we got the option to. How do I do it? 3. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, so I think they're gonna want this way. So let's see if it works. Okay, yes. All right. I realized they probably were counting rise over run, which we didn't do. And if you count rise over run, it will give you the 3/4. So on your test though, just know either one of these works. All right, so let's move to the next. Okay, now we're going to do write an equation given a linear situation. Okay, let's make sure we got the right problem type. Okay, let's do this one. All right, so okay, so for this type of problem, we're doing the same thing. We got to write the equation given the context. All right, so same thing. We still need a slope. We still need a y-intercept. Okay, but the problem is, now this we got to be careful. When you do this on Delta Math, it's very, very, very sensitive. All right, if you notice, they don't call it y. Okay, we say y equals mx plus b. Okay, they don't call it y. In this case, they call it p. So when we go to write our answer, they want capital P. All right, and then also okay, instead of saying x, they say p. Okay, so when we go to write our answer, we're not going to put x. We're going to put p instead. Okay, missing those letters will count it wrong on Delta Math. But when you take your test tomorrow and Thursday, it doesn't matter. Okay, you can put X, Y. As long as you have the form right, it's going to count it right. Because the goal is, can you write it? Okay. Yeah, we want you to be specific with the letters, but of the variables. However, if you can write it, we're cool with it. All right, so let's read it. Olivia needs to lease out a music studio to record for a new album. The studio charges an hourly fee of $125 and the initial studio fee, studio use fee of $500. Write an equation for P in terms of T, representing the amount of money Olivia would have to pay to use the studio for T hours. So here T is 4 hours, okay, aka X. So T is the same thing as X, and it represents hours. All right, so if you notice right here, it says hourly fee of $125. Okay, so basically your amount can change based on how many hours you spend in the studio. So that means 125 has to be my slope. That's how we're changing over time. Okay, and then it says initial studio fee. Okay, this fee is telling us that it doesn't matter if you go to the studio for an hour, 3 hours, 10 hours. Okay, regardless, in order to walk into that studio and actually rent it, okay, you gotta pay at least $500. So that is a non-negotiable fee. Okay, you gotta pay that regardless. Okay, then after that, it'll go up to $125 an hour. All right, so if I have these two things, I can now write my equation. So remember, we're saying P equals the slope, which is 125. We already got the T in place of X, and then plus the initial amount, which is 500. Okay, now I will say too, on these, you got to be very careful. I know in class we did one and the wording was weird. Matter of fact, we did one on page 14 where they had the word draining. So remember, y'all, if you have words that such as draining, that means the water is leaking, it's taken away. Okay, that means your slope should be negative. In this case, didn't have one of those words that lets me know my slope should be negative. So just make sure you pay attention to that when you take your test. All right, so let's put this in. Hopefully we wrote it right. So we're gonna put P equals 125T plus 500. Let's see. And also, if you notice, it's capital P. Oh, it already got the capital P, so that's good. All right, so let's put 125T plus 500, and let's see if we got it. Plus 500, and yes, we got it right. All right, so yeah. So just remember on the test, if you do y equals 125x plus 500, that would count. All right, so now let's move to the next. I'm trying not to make this video very long. All right, so interpret linear graph in context. Okay, so all right, this one is about Caleb. He's preheating the oven because he's about to bake. He created the following linear equation to graph to predict the final temperature after X minutes. All right, what is the meaning of the point? Okay, this is a test question. It may not look just like this, but this is on your test tomorrow and Thursday. Okay, y'all, and we've been doing this in class so much. What does the point 195 represent? Okay, you got to remember, and I'm gonna write over here. This is X and this is Y. In order to know what it represents in terms of the context, y'all, you need to go and look at the graph. Okay, what is your X labeled as? X is time in minutes. So this is my minute. And then what is the Y labeled as? And it's labeled as temperature. Okay, so this is the temperature. I think it said in degrees. Yes, degrees Fahrenheit. So if I know that this is minutes, okay, and this is 95, that means the oven is at 95 degrees Fahrenheit in 1 minute. Okay, so let's see what option we got. The temperature of the oven starts. Well, that's not true because that's 75. The change in minutes or every change. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Anytime you hear change in something, over changing, every change in something, this is talking about slope. So B and C is referring to the slope, but that's not the question. The question is, what does this point represent? Okay, so this point represents right here. The 1 is for minute. So in 1 minute, the temperature was basically preheated to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So the answer in this case would be here. All right, I'm gonna do another one. I want to do, okay, let's look at this one. What does the slope represent? All right, now, okay, so in order to know what the slope represents, okay, now you kind of got to think about it. All right, so the slope is y over x. All right, and then let's go look at what the y represents. The y represents the total cost. And then the x represents the rise. So in this case, the slope would be how much money it costs for each ride, or how much money that's to the museum money he spent. Okay, so it would represent how much money he, I guess, spent for the rides he rode. Okay, so it's money over rides. All right, so let's look. The total cost of $20 when going on one ride. When going on one ride, that's wrong. Okay. The total amount of money Lamont would spend if he goes on 100 rides. All right. The total amount of money Lamont would spend if he goes on 0 rides. And then this one says the change in total amount of money for every one additional ride he goes on. Okay. So remember I told you anytime it says change in something, that's how the money is changing over time. Okay. So literally it would be money for every ride that he rode. So it would be A. Okay. All right. So be careful with those. Make sure you know Y over X is cost per ride. And this is saying the total amount of money for every ride that he rode on. All right, then we're gonna do one more of these, and we're gonna do the y-intercept one. I think it was on here. Oh yeah. All right, so let's do the y-intercept one. Then after that, we're gonna move to another type. So in this one, they gave us a whole bunch of different types. So I don't know, one of them may show up on your test. So just make sure you know how to do all of them. All right, so it says starting at noon, Justin observed the amount of snow on his lawn during a blizzard. He created a graph to represent how many inches of snow were on the lawn at X minutes past noon. What does the y-intercept in the graph represent? Okay, remember the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, and here we go right here at 7. Okay, the y represents the snow, the inches of the snow. Okay, so all right. So so it says, what does the y-intercept represent? So remember, the y-intercept is your initial amount. So basically, before this blizzard was already 7 inches of snow on the ground. That's what this point tells us. That's our starting point. So let's see which one says that. The amount of snow on the lawn at noon. Okay. It says starting at noon, so maybe. Let's look at the other ones. The rate of change, well, we know the y-intercept is not the rate of change. That's our slope, so that's wrong. The amount of snow on the lawn when the blizzard ended. Okay, well, here's the thing. It says, starting at noon, Justin observed the amount of snow on the lawn during a blizzard. Okay, so we don't know when it ended, and here's why we don't know, because here's the arrow. So we don't know when the blizzard ended. We just know this is where it started. So this is wrong. All right, and then it says 7.09 inches of snow at the lawn at 12:10. Okay, and that's not right because it's not at 7:09, it's at 7. So that means it's this one. So at noon, like starting at 12 o'clock, it was 7 inches of snow on the ground. So this is the starting initial amount. So whenever he started tracking it, which he says at noon, okay, that's how much snow was on the ground. All right, so that's all I'm gonna do out of this particular one. Okay, I'm not going to do this one. Okay, this one is very similar to the multiple choice one, and I'm just not gonna do it again. All right, so graphing. Okay, let's do that one. All right, so this problem says graph the line with the equation y equals negative x minus 3. All right, here's how you need to do these. Okay, with linear functions, all you need is at least 2 points, y'all. If you can find 2 points, okay, and preferably whole numbers, okay, then you should be good. So we're gonna put this into Desmos. Y equals negative x. Y equals negative x minus 3. Okay, so we need at least 2 points. And then let's go back and see. Okay, they're giving us all the quadrants, right? Okay, now you want to be careful too because they only give you the first quadrant. Then that means you need to look for points in Desmos. Look for points in the first quadrant. Okay, so in this case, they gave us all 4 quadrants, so we don't even care. So let's go and find 2 points. All right, here's a point, negative 3, 0. So let's go take this point and let's go plot it. So negative 3, 0 is here. And then we need one more point and we should be good. All right, so let's go to this one. All right, 0, negative 3. So let's go plot that one. Okay, now here's the thing. When you take your test and do this, okay, you need to pick 2 points. Y'all, in this case, these 2 points were the easiest points. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm saying does that make sense like y'all right in front of me. But anyway, these 2 points were easy to find. Now, when you do these, y'all, these points may not be the easiest points to find. Okay, here's what I would do. You can choose any of these points, okay? But I would hit the gear, hit table, and I would look at the table to find me 2 clean points. Points is not decimal integers. It could be a negative integer. It could be a positive integer. Whole numbers are the opposite of whole numbers, okay? The negative numbers, okay? But it cannot be decimals and fractions because you can't graph those accurately on here. So I would just put it in. If you can easily find these points, the x and y intercept, I would do that. But sometimes they're not easy, so I would just hit the table and literally choose 2 points from this table and go plot those 2 points. All right, let's submit it and make sure we got it right. Okay, good. All right, next is domain and range. So let's do that one. Let's do the domain. Okay. So remember domain is all the possible x values from left to right. So where does the graph start? Where does the graph end? All right. If you notice, it starts here on the x at negative 11. And then it ends here at 11. Now you got to pay close attention because when it starts, it's a closed circle, which means negative 11 is included on the graph. But when it ends, it's an open circle on 11. So that means 11 is not included on your graph. So if it's included, like the start, we need a bracket. If it's not included, like the end, we need a parenthesis. So we need to select one of these that has included bracket, not included parentheses, which is this. Okay, now if I have this correct, I need to go ahead and put my start and my end point. It starts at -11 right here, and it ends at 11. Okay, and then, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so now let's submit. Okay, so that's the domain. Let's do arrangement real quick. All right, so if you look at this one, remember, range is from bottom to top. So now we're looking at all the possible Y values. So it starts at the bottom at 1. Okay, now if y'all notice at the bottom, it's not open or closed circle here, but if you put a dot literally right here at the bottom of this graph, y'all, that point is included. That means if it's included, and basically that means this point is on the graph. So this is included. So I would need a bracket at 1, and then it ends when Y is 8. And this is also included. How do I know that? Because if I were to put a dot right here, that dot is on the graph. It's on the blue line. So it starts on the Y at 1 and it ends on the Y at 8. Okay, and we need closed brackets. So if we go to here, both of these points are included, so we can put 1 and 8. And we should be good. Ooh, okay, wait. Did I not do it right? Oh, it says domain. Okay, that's my fault. Okay, I thought I clicked, uh, I forgot to do problem types, y'all, so that's my fault. Okay, but because it says domain, the 1 and 8 is not right. But I'm not gonna do another one because the range is correct. If this said range, it would be from 1 to 8, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm not gonna do another one because the range is correct. It just said domain. So pretend as if it didn't say domain and it said range. I just forgot to hit problem types. All right, so let's move to another one. While we're on those, I'm just gonna go ahead and do these two at the bottom. Because these are domain and range too, but these are when we have arrows. All right, so let's find the domain of one of these. All right, so it's a little bit different when we have the arrows. Okay, so it's still domain is the start and the stop. Okay, so domain is start and stop from left to right. All right, so on the left right here, we see that it starts at -3. All right, so if it starts at -3, remember, if I put a dot right here, if I could put a dot right here. Okay, that means, hey, I forgot I can annotate. Okay, now here's the thing, y'all. This is my first time doing annotations. And I really hope they can show up on the thing because I don't know if it shows up or not. But so if you don't see nothing, that's because it didn't show up. All right, but if you can see it, y'all see how I put a dot right here on -3? Okay, if I put a dot right here on -3, this dot is included. I can't draw this graph, the exact same graph, identical graph, without this blue dot. Okay, so that means -3 is included. So that means I need a bracket and -3. All right. And so so this is the left side. On the right side, I can't find the ending point. Even though it looks like it ends at 10, that's wrong because it doesn't end because this arrow says it keeps going. Okay. So because it keeps going, that means and it's going to the right. So it basically starts at -3 and it doesn't end. So we're going to put from -3 to the right, which is infinity. Okay, so let's put this. This is going to be so crazy if y'all can't see these annotations. But anyway, all right, so let's put it in and let's clear this. All right, so interval notation. Um, Okay, we put it in interval notation, and we said bracket in parentheses. So it starts at -3, and it goes to positive infinity because it's pointing to the right. All right, so basically, it's all it's um okay, yeah. So it starts at -3 and goes to the right. So is any number greater than or equal to -3? That's what I was trying to say, but I couldn't get it right. All right, so let's hit it. And yes, that's the answer. All right, so now we're gonna do a range one, and then y'all, we are about to move to the next. Okay, we almost done. All right, so for the range, I don't want to do one of those. Let's do another one. You know what? I should have just did the range of the one I was just doing. All right, so let's do this one. Okay, so hopefully y'all can see these annotations. Okay, so for the range, remember the range goes from bottom to top. So it goes through, it starts at the bottom right here at 5. And remember, if I can put a dot right here and this dot is on this graph, that means included. And then if you look at the top, okay, we cannot say it's 7.5. That's wrong. Okay, and the reason why we can't say that is because we have an arrow at the top. Okay, you got an arrow at the top of your graph. That means it goes up to infinity on the y-axis. So it's literally starts at the bottom at 5, goes up to infinity. So once again, it's bracket and parentheses, and it's still in interval notation. So I'm going to put, and you can, well, I don't know. So it's 5 to infinity. Okay. All right, so we're almost done. I'm gonna come back and do sequences at the very end. Actually, we're at the end. The only one that's left, y'all, is parent functions. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not going over parent functions, and here's why. It is straight in your notes. Okay. Um, Dang it, I forgot the page number. But it's in your notes, like at the very beginning. Matter of fact, I think it's on page 2. It should be on your page 2 if I'm remembering correctly. So you need to know all 6. You need to know the name of the function, like linear function. You need to know the parent function equation, and you need to know the parent function graph. Y'all, that's in your notes. Tomorrow's test, you can use your notes. So I'm not going over parent function. That's straight from y'all's notes. Plotting points is not going to be exactly on your test like this. You just need to know how to plot the points, because guess what you got to do? Graph the line. Okay, so this particular question won't be on here exactly, but you still need to know how to do it. All right, the last 2 things I'm going to do, I'm not going to go over recursive sequences right now. I'm going to go over these 2 things. Oh, I forgot end behavior. Okay, let's go over end behavior first, and then we'll go over the last 2, and then we'll be done. All right, so almost finished. All right, end behavior. So let's talk about this. So, when we talked about this in class, hold on. I am going to get a snippet of this and put it over here. Okay, so we talked about end behavior. Well, we talked about all of these in class. But just remember, when we talk about end behavior, y'all, it is literally exactly what it's called, the end behavior. You're trying to figure out what is going on at the end of your graph, okay? And if you notice, I told y'all you got to make sure you understand the difference between grid and graph, okay? Because we're talking about the end of the graph, not the grid. So I'm not looking at this part. I'm not looking at this part. That's the grid. I'm really looking at these 2 pieces. Those are the 2 ends of your graph. Now, I like to be specific and say, I got a left end, this is the left side, and I got a right end, this is the right side. Okay, I read my graph from left to right. So here's the left end, here's the right end. Okay, so here's how you write it. As X, this arrow means approach something, what is your graph approaching? Okay, and I gotta write this twice because I got two ends. So this is only for one end. Now I gotta write a second one for the second end. Okay, so this is how I do it. And like I said, we talked about this in class. I always label the left side negative infinity. Why do I label it negative infinity? Okay, it's gonna help when we do in behavior, positive, negative, increasing, decreasing. It always helps. Okay, so I label mine like this because the x value gets smaller to the left. So I always name my left end negative infinity. Okay, and then I always label my right end positive infinity because to the right, the values, x values get bigger. Okay, so I label this the left end negative infinity, the right end positive infinity. We don't care right now. We don't care about the behavior. This is just what we're naming the end. It goes the left end, the negative infinity side. It go to positive infinity side. Okay, this is going to help us when we write this part. Okay, so this part is literally the direction. So as x approach, okay, hold on. As x approach the left side, okay, what did we just name the left side? Negative infinity. Okay, so this blank is literally for what side are we talking about? So looking at the left side, that's what this negative infinity means right here, left side. Okay, this y means what is your graph doing? So y is approaching. What is the graph doing on the left? That's what this is. Okay, now look at the end. Now look at this. Okay, what is this end doing? It is going up. So you can only put two things right here, y'all. Either you're going to put negative infinity or positive infinity. Okay, what is the graph doing right now? It's going up. So I'm going to put positive infinity for going up. Okay, because going negative infinity doesn't mean going up. Negative infinity means going down in this case. Right here, it means left side. So I'm going to go over that one more time. On the left side, negative infinity means left side. What is my graph doing? It's going up. So going up in this case means positive infinity. All right, so now let's do the right side. If I got the left here, let's do the right side. Okay, so on the right side, so what am I going to put here for right side? We named it already, positive infinity. So on the right side, what is the graph doing? Okay, now you need to look right here. Okay, what is this graph doing right here? It is going down. Okay, so what do I put right here in place of going down? Either I'm going to put positive infinity or negative infinity. Well, we just said going up means positive infinity. So now I'm going to put negative infinity because that means going down in this case. All right, so if you need to start and stop, do that as needed. Okay, now here's what we need to look for. And sometimes they like to switch it up, so be careful. We need to look for what option, because it's multiple choice. What option gives us negative infinity, positive, negative? So in my options, I'm looking for a negative, positive, negative. So I'm looking for this. All right, so now let's go to it. So here's the options, and here's what we're looking for. We're looking for a negative infinity, positive infinity, negative infinity. All right, so look right here at option A. Option A says negative, negative. Well, that's wrong because neither one of our options has negative, negative, so that's wrong. Option B has negative, positive. That might be right. And then it has positive, positive. Well, that's wrong because we got positive, negative at the bottom, so B is wrong. Okay, option C has negative, negative. Well, neither one of these options have negative, negative, so C is wrong. So it has to be D, but let's check it. Option D has negative, positive. That's what we got at the top. And the bottom has positive, negative, and that's what we have at the bottom. So that means the answer has to be D, but let me make sure y'all understand this. Y'all see how we put the left on the top? You can also write it to where you put the right on the top and the left at the bottom. So make sure you understand that you could have also done it this way. This is what we got when we did left on top, right on top. Sorry, left on top, right on the bottom. What happens if we would have done right on the top, left on the bottom? Then we would have got plus negative, negative plus. And this is okay to have too. You just got to know when you look for your options may be switched, and that's okay. So either one of these work. All right, so we said it's D. Let's check it, and we got it right. All right, so that's end behavior. Now, the last two may take a little minute. All right, but we're going to get it. All right, so now I'm going to, in terms of an arithmetic sequence. All right, so let's look at this. Let's snip this. And then let's do it. All right, so I told y'all in class that if you're in strategies or if you look at the Delta Math options, they're going to teach you another way. Okay, I'm not going to teach you that way until we get to it, until we review for the midterm. I'll teach you that way when we do it for the midterm. Right now, I'm just going to teach you how we already been doing things in class. So don't get confused if you get this problem wrong and you hit show example or watch the video. They're not going to teach you like I taught you, and that's okay. Multiple ways, and I'm gonna teach you that way later. All right, but here's how I taught it in class. Okay, it says find the 55th term. Okay, if you notice right now, I only know 1, 2, 3 terms. Y'all, it's gonna take a minute to get to the 55th one if I'm just on the third one. So here's the thing you need to know. There's an easier way to do this. Instead of counting all the way till I get to 55, I can write a formula. I can write the equation for this. When I write the equation, I can basically plug in to find the 55th term. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. If this is a sequence, when we did page 1, we had patterns. In order to know, and they ask us questions like, what do we need to do? Or how can we draw the 4th stage? Well, y'all, you can't draw another stage. We can't predict what comes in the 4th stage until we first know what are we adding by. Okay, so this is how I do mine. I start on the right. Okay, which is 40. Now, because it's the arithmetic sequence, I know from left to right, I add. And then from right to left, I subtract. Okay, so from right to left, I subtract. So I start at 40. What's 40 minus 24? Well, and then I'm going to do it one more time. 24 minus 8. Both of these numbers need to end up being the same thing. If it's not, then it's not arithmetic. All right, so 24 minus 8, 16. 40 minus 24, 16. Okay, hold on 1 second. Oop. All right. Okay, so basically I subtracted from right to left. So 40 minus 24 is 16, and then 24 minus 8, that gave me 16. All right, because these numbers are the same, clearly we know that means it's arithmetic, okay, because this has to be the same number. We got to be adding the same number every single time, or else it's not arithmetic sequence. All right, so this number here that we got every single time, this is called our common difference. Okay, y'all, we have not been calling this common difference in class. We've been calling it M, aka this is our slope. Okay, common difference is the same thing as slope. How am I changing over time? I'm going from one term to the next by adding 16. Okay, so my common difference, aka slope, is 16. All right, I just told y'all I want to write the equation for this. Okay, what equation am I referring to? Right now, I'm referring to y equals mx plus b. I already know my slope is 16. The next thing I'm missing is my y-intercept. Okay, here's how you can find the b. Okay, I'm going to make a table. Okay, when I make a table, y'all, here's what you got to know. In order to find B, that's when X is 0. Right now, I don't know this yet. Okay, what I do know is the first term is 8, so that's when X is 1. I know the second term right here is 24. And then I know my third term right here is 40. Okay. What I don't know and what I need to know is what is the Y when X is 0? What's my Y intercept? That's my B. Okay, so we're going to work backwards. We're going to work backwards. All right. So 40 minus 16 gave us 24. So I'm starting at the bottom. 40 minus 16 gave us 24. 24 minus 16 gave us 8. 8 minus 16 gives us negative 8. All right. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Every time I do this, I confuse myself, but let me go back. I did it right, but let me just go back just in case you got confused. Even though I know you can rewind. All right, so I'm gonna go back over what I just did. Okay, so we gotta work backwards. We gotta work backwards. So our goal is to figure out what is the Y value when X is 0. So we basically, it gave us the first term, the second term, the third term, but in order to find the B, which is the Y intercept, we gotta know the 0 term. So that means we gotta work backwards. So if I know every time from left to right or from top to bottom, I'm just adding 16. Okay, so that means from bottom to top, I'm subtracting 16. So 40 minus 16 gives me 24. 24 minus 16 gives me 8. 8 minus 16 gives me negative 8. Okay. And then if I check myself, remember I just told y'all from bottom to top, you subtract. That's what we just did. But from top to bottom, we add. So if I add these, if I add 16, I should get the next one. So let's just check it just in case. If you like me and you got confused. The negative 8 plus 16 is 8. 8 plus 16 is 24. 24 plus 16 is 40. So that means everything's good. So now I got my 0 term. Okay, I got my Y-intercept and it's right here. So B is negative 8. Okay, now that I know I got everything, okay, now I can write my equation. And now I can go try to figure out for real what is the 55th term. So let's write the equation. In slope-intercept form, my m is 16, so I'm going to replace it. Y equals, instead of writing m, I'm going to put 16, the x. Instead of writing plus b, I'm going to put minus 8. Okay, now here's the question. From here, how do I use this to find the 55th term? Okay, let's go to Desmos. All right, so let's put y equals, got it just that quick, 16x minus 8. And I want this table, and then it says 55th term, and this is when x equals 55. Okay, so let's change one of these values to 55, and then the 55th term is 872. All right, so the 55th term is 872. All right, y'all, that was a lot. Okay, I know you probably gonna need to rewind, fast forward, stop, pause, do you a problem. Okay, make sure you do it and practice it. So let's put in 872, and let's hope we got it right. Boom. All right, so that's how to do that one. Okay, last one that I'm going to do before I end this video. Y'all, I do know one thing. Y'all better pass this test. I'm doing all of this. All right, last thing. Okay, so it says, what is the formula for the nth term of the given sequence? Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, so it says, what's the formula for the nth term of the given sequence? All right, anytime you're given a question like this, okay, we need to first know the formula. Okay, I wasn't going to teach all this, but I guess I'm gonna go ahead and teach it. All right, so I was gonna wait till midterms, but well, forget I just said that. Okay, so what is the formula for the nth term? All right, here's the formula you need to know. Okay, if it says explicit, which it does, okay, there's a formula for explicit arithmetic sequences. All right, so it is a sub n equals a sub 1 plus d times the quantity of n minus 1. All right, so yeah. Okay, when you write this, so this is the formula. All right, a sub 1 means the first term in the sequence. All right, your sequence always includes the first term. Remember, we just did it on this other problem. Okay, the first term is not the 0th term. That's the first term in the sequence. So here's my first term, which is 13. Okay, so basically, this is a sub 1. All right, now D. D is what we call the slope, okay, or the common difference. So we literally just did it up here, okay? How we add or subtract, that is our common difference, aka the slope. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing we just did and we're gonna work backwards. So start at the back, we're gonna subtract the previous term. Okay, so if I look, 21 minus 17, okay, that is 4. Okay, and that is going to be my common difference. That's my slope. All right, and then n, I'm gonna put a common difference, and then n is just the term you're trying to find. Okay, term you're trying to find. All right, so when you write the formula, y'all, the only two things you're going to replace is a sub 1 and d. Okay, those are the only things you replace. Everything else, you write the same. All right, so look, it says a sub n equal, instead of me writing a sub 1, I'm going to put my first term, which is 13, plus the slope or the common difference, which is 4. And then I only highlighted two things, y'all. So I'm just going to replace n. I'm going to just bring down n minus 1. All right, now let's look at the options, because sometimes they simplify this, and I'm gonna show you that way too. Okay, so sometimes they simplify it, and if they simplify it, we can go a step further. But look at our answer choices. Okay, so the answer choices says, first of all, we know it's not, if I say this is A, B, C, D, we know it's not B, because the first term is 13, not 17. All right, if you look on the inside of this, the formula says n minus 1, so it's also not C. It's not B or C. Okay, and then we look at these two. The formula says to add, so the answer has to be A. All right, so let's check it. Okay, now here's the problem, and I'm gonna do this too. Sometimes they simplify this, y'all. Okay, you may get a question, and instead of them writing like this, they took it a step further and they simplified it. Okay, if that's the case, then that means we need to distribute. Okay, we need to multiply 4 by everything inside of the parentheses. So let's do that. So I can bring down to 13. If I do 4 times n, All right, bring down to 13. If I do 4 times n, that gives me plus 4n. If I do 4 times -1, that gives me -4. I can combine these like terms and say 13 minus 4. Okay, if I bring over this 4n, if I do 13 minus 4, that gives me positive 9. Okay, so you may see it like this. Sometimes they simplify it, sometimes they don't. So either you can leave it like this. You look at your answer choices, leave it like this. And if you see that they simplified it, then they may want 4n plus 9. So either one of those work. In this case, my answer choices were in the non-simplified version, so it's okay. All right, I'm gonna go back and show y'all one more thing. Okay, since I showed you this, okay, I'm going to show you how to use this for this question also. All right, so before I end this video, I'm gonna show you one more thing. Okay, so, all right, because you can also use that same sequence that we, the same formula that we just wrote. A sub n equals the first term plus the slope or the common difference times the quantity of n minus 1. All right, so just remember, A sub 1 is, and this is actually a simpler way than doing what I just did with all this. So I'm gonna just go ahead and show you this, and then I'm gonna finally end the video. All right, so the first term is 8. All right, A sub 1 is the first term. Okay, D is the common difference. And then if you go back and look at this question, the common difference was 16. Remember, we took 40. 40 minus 24 gave us 16. All right, and then remember, n is the term that we're trying to find. Y'all, this is a way simpler way. Okay, so you may want to do this way instead. All right, put it in your notes, because remember, you can use notes on the test. All right, so n is the term that we're trying to find. So that means I'm going to replace n with 55. All right, so let's write it. So I'm going to say, technically, A sub 55. So the 55th term is A sub 1, which is 8, plus 16 times 55 minus 1. Okay, if you look over here, remember we said the answer was 872. So now we're going to put this into our calculator exactly. I'm not going to simplify a thing, y'all. We're going to put it in our calculator just like this. If it does not give us 872, we did it wrong. All right, so let's check it. So 8 plus 16 times 55 minus 1. And look, we got 872. All right, so clearly, y'all, that was a much simpler way. So use what you want. It doesn't matter. Either way works. I did teach y'all this long way in class because I didn't want to confuse you with another formula. So either one works. Practice it and go with what works best for you. All right, y'all, I'm expecting all A's. Those are easy to grade, so I can't wait to grade your A's. All right, good luck studying. Come tomorrow and Thursday with questions if you have questions. Don't forget, this is only part 1 of your test. Part 2 of your test, if you go to E-Class, I put a video of me going over page 11, and I posted the page 11 answer key document. So y'all, there's no reason that you should not be able to study because you got plenty of study material.